Hi, Sharon Brennan here, Cottage Lane Stamper. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from New Ulm, Minnesota. Anyway, today I wanted to show you a couple little gift boxes. I actually had intended to show you this one initially. I got this pattern from I forget her name, Poodles from England. Forgot her first name. Anyway, where she shows you how to make this cute little tart box, the Yankee Candle warming tarts. And I was all set to make this for you, and then realized I had sold my punch. It's an old retired punch, but I had sold it. That makes this little holder for the warming tart. Anyway, I decided to improvise a little bit. And not everybody can have scented things in their house, but almost everybody loves Reese's Pieces, right? And I just realized I forgot one little thing here. Let me get my punch out, if I can find it. And when I made this, I forgot to put a little thumb hole right here. So we're just going to do that right now. This is a 1/2-inch circle punch. You could use like a little oval punch, but just something to make a little place to put your thumb to open up the box, just to make it easier. And I made a template for punching out the holes for the Reese's. It's a 1-inch punch. Anyway, you could also, if you wanted to go with a bigger peanut butter cup, I think this would fit in here nicely. It is about 1.5 inches on the bottom. So if you have like 1 5/8 circle, you could try 1.5 inches and see how that works. But that would also fit in there nicely too. The only thing is it's not sealed like these are, wrapped in foil. Anyway, let's get started on this, and I'll show you how I made it. I'll set that aside. And we're going to start with a piece of cardstock that is 4 3/4 by 11. And I'm going to bring out my scoring tool. You can also use your paper trimmer and use that to score with. But because this is a little bit longer, I'm going to use this. So on the long side, we're going to score at 3/8, and I'm going to use well, I need a little bit more light here. Hang on a second. Get a little bit of shadows. There, I think that might be better. All right. So I'm going to use the shorter end, if I can get in the camera here, this end of my tool. So we're going to score at 3/8, 3 1/8, 3 1/2, 6 1/4, 7 1/4, and 10 inches. Now we're going to turn it clockwise, and we're going to score at the 1-inch mark all the way down to the bottom, and the 3 3/4 inch mark all the way down to the bottom. Then we're going to go back up to the top, and at the 5/8 mark, which is 1 2 3 4 5 lines over, we're going to score down to the 3rd line. If you can see that. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more. My Camera just went a little crooked. There we go. So, get down in here a little bit. The 3/8 at the 5/8 inch mark down to this third score line. So we have 1, 2, and 3 all the way down there. And then we're going to go over to the 4 and an 1/8 line. I've got my little marker there, but I'll just move it over. 4 and an 1/8. So that's one line over from the 4-inch mark and down to the third line. And that's our scoring. So let me zoom this out a little bit again so you can see the whole thing. Just a smidge, oops, wrong way. There we go. So I want you to be able to see the whole thing. So we are going to take our scissors and we are going, I don't know why I like to do, do you have certain ways that you like to do certain things? It's just kind of, this is the way she did in the video, so that's why I'm doing it. Anyway, so we're going to snip right up on that first score line to the first score line. And we're going to do the same here. Now we're going to cut a little wedge out of here just to make it easier. And a little wedge out of this side. Take some of the bulk out. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. It just makes it a little bit easier to put it together. And then we're going to go all the way up to this one. I turn it so you can see it a little bit better. And then we're going to turn it this way and we're going to cut this whole strip off here. This here. So we're going to cut this whole thing off here. So then we're cutting up, we've already cut up to here. We're going to cut up to here. And we're going to cut up to here. And we're going to do the same side on the same thing on this side. So we're going to just cut this strip off here on that score line. And we're going to just snip into these a little bit. And cut a wedge out there. And wedge out here. And a wedge out here. Now, you can do it on these little tiny ones too. I just find it a little bit more challenging because you don't want to take out a whole bunch, right? And you don't want to rip it off just like I just did. So I'm going to leave that one. Actually, what I'm going to do, and we all learned from our mistakes, right? So I'm just going to take a little piece of tear and tape, a tiny little piece. Just going to cut it, whoop, and put it on the back side here, because this isn't going to show. And that will reinforce it. And I'm not gonna take off the backing. So now, if you want to make a template, and this template is just a smidge shorter than 2.5. I believe that's, or 2 and, let me see, 2 3/4, sorry. Just, I mean, I took off just a smidge less, like at 32nd of an inch, less than 2 3/4. So, and then I just kind of eyeballed. I set my little Reese's Pieces there and drew circles where I wanted them, and then punched them out with my 1-inch punch, and that's my template. So now I can go and lay this on here. If you're eyeballing that, that's great, but my eyes are getting older, so I'm just going to draw circles on here. And you want to punch this first before you do anything else. Start putting it together, just so your life isn't more difficult. And then if you take your 1-inch punch, or if you have a 1-inch die, use that. Just punch these out. And that way your little Reese's Pieces will have a little nest to sit in. There, we're done with those. So now we're going to start putting this together. So we are going to burnish our score lines. This one actually goes this way, I believe. And if you fold it the wrong way, no big deal. Just refold it the right way when you put it together. You know. I think crafting for me is relaxing. I don't want it to be stressful, and if I make a mistake, I just figure out how to correct it or cover it up, which I have done so many times. Okay, so we got that together. Now I am going to take some, oops, I didn't do these sides here. We're going to put this little baby together. So I'm going to put a little bit of tear and tape on these little pieces here. You want to use a strong adhesive like tear and tape or glue or Stampin' Seal Plus when you're doing 3D projects like this, because they're going to be opened and closed a little bit. So we're just going to use this. Just going to snip off pieces because it's a little bit easier to get the right size. And I also found that that happens. You get the glue on the adhesive part on your finger instead of the paper. Oh dear. I found that with tear and tape, if I do this a little bit, and some people have difficulty peeling off the layer, you can use take your pick tool, or you can use your fingernails, whichever works better for you. And we're going to just seal that up. Like I said, this is going to be covered up, so you're not going to see that white part there. So we can do that, and then we're going to do the same thing on these little flaps. There. I'm just going to use some glue because it'll be easier. The only thing with glue is that you have to hold it just a smidge so it stays together. And I've even gotten to using like clothespins to hold things if I'm doing gluing several things at a time. I don't know, do people still have clothespins in their house? I do. I sold my house, but I kept some of my clothespins for my crafting. So that goes like this, and now this folds in like this. And did I forget to? I forgot to score that, burnish that one. I just got scared out of my mind. Alexa started talking to me. Oh my gosh, I just had heart failure. Thought somebody was in my house. Oh gosh. So I'm going to put some adhesive on here. I live alone, that's why it scared me. And we're going to tuck these in like that. Maybe I should zoom in a little bit just for this. Here we go. I wonder what the heck I asked it. Sorry. And now we're going to put a little adhesive on. I'm going to put it right on the side here, so I make sure I get it on the right depth. And I'm going to put a little bit on here, right there. That's weird. I've had times when I've watched TV, and then somebody will say something like, "Hey Alexa," on the TV, and my Alexa will answer it. Oh my word. I just sit there and laugh. Okay. People probably, if they could watch me, they probably think I was nuts sitting here laughing by myself like that. Okay, so now we're going to glue these shut here on these flaps. And you want your flaps on the inside of the box. Just gives it a more finished look. So we'll do this one. And glue is a little bit more forgiving. So you can slide it around a little bit if the edges aren't matched up perfectly. Okay, now we're going to do this one. I'm curious if you want to leave a comment about if that's ever happened to you. Oh, I know my daughter and son-in-law gave me one of these electronic frames last year for Christmas, and I had loaded a couple of video clips of my grandsons, right? And in the middle of the night I hear this noise. I thought, what the heck is that? So, technical difficulty. I'm not sure exactly when I left you. But anyway, we've put together our box. We've put adhesive on the sides here, stuck it together, and put this together. And we just put a punch for our thumb hole. I used a 1/2-inch punch because I forgot to do it before I put it together. And I could just make this a little bit bigger by punching it over a couple sides. Just round that off a little bit. It makes it kind of wonky, but anyway, it's decorative, right? So just make sure you put your punch, your thumb hole, before you seal up these sides here. Just makes it easier. I'll figure out a way to do this later. Let's see, I don't think. There, now we got our box together and our little, you can buy a bag of these, I think we have 7 in here, at the dollar store. So, but they fit perfect in there. And I'm probably one of the very few people in America that doesn't like Reese's Pieces, but my family loves them, so that's what these are for. Now we're going to decorate the top of it, and you're going to need a piece of cardstock or designer series paper that's 2.5 by 2.5. This is from the Reindeer Days packet, and you could make these boxes all year round, to be honest with you, for any little gift, you know, shower gift or party favor, whatever. But I'm using this for Christmas, and so this is 2.5 by 2.5. Or I have in this one, as you can see, I punched a window with a circle punch, and you could put some glass window sheet behind it, or you can just leave it as it is, and they can see what they're getting, and then put a belly band on it if you want to decorate it a little bit more. I'm just going to make this easy and trying to find my adhesive here. I'm going to put some Stampin' Seal on here. I want to do it all the way around because I don't want it coming off the edges. So I love this holly. I think it's so pretty. And then I am going to use the Humble Home stamp set. I can find it. I lose things on my desk all the time. Here we go. The Humble Home stamp set and punch. This is so cute. I love this. So we're going to use this stamp here, and it's got thank you for coming, thank you for the sweet gift, welcome home, from our house to yours, Merry Christmas, to from. It's got a little wreath, and there's a door with some windows and a brick facade, and I like the gingerbread one, so that's what we're doing. I've got a piece of scrap cardstock here from a failed attempt at this box the first time. Her dimensions were off like 1/8 of an inch, and I scored it wrong, and so yeah, that's what happens sometimes. She even caught herself, and she still said the wrong number, but that's okay. We figured it out. So here is my piece of red cardstock, and I'm going to stamp this in Versamark because I'm going to do heat embossing. You can decorate it however you want with whatever you want. You can still get this set, I believe, through January 3rd or 4th. And I've got my old trusty Stampin' tray, or embossing tray. I forgot to do my embossing buddy on top. It just helps the embossing powder to not adhere to places you don't want it. So we're just gonna give that a good whack, get off the excess. And I like this because I can just put it right back in my jar. I know the embossing tray sets that they have now also come with brushes, so sometimes I'll use that to brush out the excess from my tray. Get my Stampin' Pierce mat out of there. I use the Stampin' Pierce mat because it gives a little bit of cush to the photopolymer stamps. So now we're going to bring out my heat gun, and I keep another use for my clothespin. I hold on to my paper with it so I don't burn my fingers. And I like to warm my heat gun up a little bit. It just seems that the embossing goes a little bit faster. You can see that it's getting shiny. There's nothing worse than heat embossing and not getting all of it done, and then you go to touch it and it comes off. So clip that back onto my cord, and then we're going to take the punch and slide this in here, hopefully. I had trouble the first time too. I cut off a little bit. It's a little bit too long. Cut it off on that score mark. It doesn't have to be scored. I'm just being silly. Okay, we're going to line this up and punch it. It's got a cute little hole, so if you wanted to make this into a tag, or there's bricks or things for windows, and there's a heart, or whatever you want to use that little square for. There we go. So here we are. And I'll list everything I've used on my blog. So the dimensions and everything. So there's our cute little house. Put our box back in. And I'm going to pop this up with some dimensionals. And peeled that one off before I even got it off the pad. And I'm going to stick it over just to the left a little bit because I'm going to put this, I like this Merry Christmas. I think I just want to shove it over a little bit more. So I have a piece of scrap, and when we trim our cards down, our card bases down, or I should say our not our card bases, but like the layer, you usually trim it off a 1/2 inch, and these pieces work great for that. So I'm going to stamp this in real red. Bring in my paper piercing mat again, and I'm going to stamp it off to the left a little bit so I can make it into a flag. You can just do that with your scissors. You don't have to buy a special punch for it. It's a little bit longer than I want, so I'm just going to trim off about this much. And then I'm going to go halfway between the top and bottom, try and cut in about the same amount. And then just in from the corners, cut to that line. Cut mark, or whatever you want to call it. There. And we have our little flag. And then I think I bought these this year. They're called Loose Holly Gems and Sequins. And I just love these. I love holly. But unfortunately they're in garden. Oh, these must be in. They don't look like, the holly leaves don't look garden green to me. They look more like shaded spruce. So I'm just going to try and shake out a couple of the red ones and bring in my glue dots here. Take off about 3, I think I took off more. And my take your pick tool, and see if I can find a couple small ones here with, I love that little gummy end. I don't know what you call it, but I'm going to take a big one, and sometimes it sticks, but you just peel it off. Let's see, and here's another little red one. There we go. Sometimes it squeezes out too much. I just like to push it back in. There. I'll put these back in there. And then I'm going to use my other end of my take your pick tool, and I'm just going to get underneath one of these and put it there. And when you're putting something on, when you're embellishing, whatever you're doing, so this is going to be over on this side, so I kind of want it to point to the box or to the focal point. And so I kind of make a little directional thing there, so you can understand what I'm trying to say. So that it kind of points toward your focal point and not away from it. And then we're going to just take, I think I have a couple glue dots left on here. So I'm just going to use those. And slide it under here, and it'll say Merry Christmas. So there you are. I hope you enjoyed this. This was a fun thing to make. And you could put other chocolates in here too, if you wanted to make maybe, I don't know how about Hershey Nuggets, but maybe you could use a rectangular punch or something like that. But these worked really good. The 1-inch circle punch worked just perfect for this, and they just are seated in there so nicely. So looks better when it's full, right? So let's look at that one. There. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you're interested, I can give you the dimensions for making the box for the tart. Is the same thing. You just need a circle punch that is about 2 3/8, I believe. This is 2 on the bottom, so if you wanted a little bit more, 2 1/8 inch punch. Unfortunately, like I said, I sold that one to my friend, but I'm sure if I wanted to use it, I could. So anyway, there you are. I'll give you a couple, I'll look at both of those. I hope you enjoyed this, and like I said, I'll post the directions on my blog, which is cottageLaneStamper.com. Here is the QR code for that, and my Stampin' Up! Website, and my events calendar, and if you want to subscribe to Paper Pumpkin, you can use that QR code. So, and I'm also on Facebook. It's Cottage Lane Stamper and Friends. So, thank you very much for stopping in. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this project, please give me a thumb up and share. It helps activate the algorithms. So take care, and may God bless you, and Merry Christmas.